So this is my installation for a print multiple script that I have coming up. This installation is called Junkhead. An installation is basically transforming a space with your work to try and like touch on a certain theme. I mean, it's painting, digital print, printmaking, lithography, screen print, a whole bunch of stuff. So over here, in terms of the multiples, subject matter reoccurring, I've been working with a lot of still lives, which is like very ironic because I used to hate them. But I've been coming up with still lives sort of in my head, but like some reference material as well, that include a lot of fabric, include a lot of bottles, a lot of gesturing, a lot of contours as well, because I really love just the finality, but also the ability to change the finality of fabric with a simple, touch or wisp. And so you see a lot of that going on right here. You see a lot of that up here as well. In terms of the bottles, it comes off as a bit blatant. It comes off as something that's going to be interpreted in a lot of different ways. I think it has a very deep representation of people that don't think they have another option besides abusing those substances to be happy.
Do the prints look too big?
They're too small. Like, does the wall look too big? Like, I feel like it's overpowering what you're supposed to be looking at. Maybe I could like fill that one up with all my lithos.
You
could just fill that wall up and then just do.
You know what? Honestly, like maybe vertical would look better.
Like column wise?
Yeah.
Like on this wall or like at a different wall?
On this wall. How big were lithos?
Lithos are like that big.
You fill them up with more ones?
Yeah.
You could.
Cause I got like 20 of them. More than that.
You could try that, honestly. Or space them out in between, maybe. Put like a couple lithos in between the bigger prints.
Yeah, I could do that as well. Got about 20 or something different of these, and they're all going to be displayed in my installation. Yeah, so, alright. Art is the only thing that has the ability to keep me sane that isn't a substance. It's basically me trying to flesh out why I have a tendency to romanticize substance abuse, why I have a tendency to constantly search for that next high. Also, the idea of falling into place, falling into a routine, falling into a 9 to 5, it scares the hell out of me, to be totally honest with you. And so, these are basically just reflections. These are basically me trying to piece together different parts of my life in certain works. This one right here, that's a digital print called Duplicitous. I was making this one and actually that one as well, about recent falling outs with a girl that I had that I was pretty involved with. These are representations of how I felt during that time and what I felt I needed to rise above that. This wood block, well, these are it's a 4-piece laser cut wood block. So this is one, this is another one, this is another one, and then these trees are another one. This wood block is called Amy. About 2 or 3 years ago, my dad took off. I had an affair with this woman named Amy, and he sort of like abandoned our family, and there are a lot of things that he doesn't know happened to our family as a result of him leaving and running off with this woman who was also married at the time and had 2 kids. This is sort of my take on that, kind of like fleshing out how responsible I was for him going, how this is sort of like the demon that stays in the back of my head that I always got to think about, always got to like reconsider and recontextualize based on the fact that they're married now, based on the fact that that I don't know her and I never want to know her. So this is very ominous, very, very unself-assured, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure.
That one right there, that one is part of a triptych that, with that one right there, that digital, and the duplicitous one right over there. It's basically, these 3 prints are they were all made at different times, definitely all made at different times, but in terms of me feeling like there are two parts of me, one part is so enamored and infatuated with getting to that place, getting fucked up, getting stoned. There's also a slight sliver of me that looks at all of that, and because of the way I was raised, because of the teachings that were like brought to me and in my home for the first 15 years of my life, it tells me that all this stuff is wrong. But because of my dad leaving when he did, when I was like 14, 15, I was forced to take all of the things that he told me, and like I had to throw it away because I didn't know whether they were right or not because of his actions. And so I that one in particular, it's kind of like, because you have this profile facing to the right, you have this profile facing to the left, from where we're facing, and this one centered is supposed to just represent not exactly knowing. Like I'd like to think that the emotions that I want to portray when you're intoxicated are shown here, but there is, there's that sliver, there's that side of me that hides behind this facade of, jewelry and big personality and this image that's thrust on top of me. I think because of how what my personality is like, I sometimes feel that it's expected of me to get as fucked up as I possibly can. For whatever reason, I'm not sure. But yeah, basically. I think getting into art, it was one of those things where my mom noticed it, and I was about to jump into high school, and we were picking out my classes. She asked me if I wanted to go into art, and I didn't know that was an option. I asked her if I could do that, and she was, a little bit pissed off that I had asked her that question because she went to school for art. And I went in for my first class, and after my first project, a woman by the name of Catherine Zaleski, who doesn't teach at Thomas anymore, she took me aside and she was like, "You have an act for this, like you are something special, and you have to start putting a portfolio together if you want to go to school for this stuff."
What's this for?
I am just picking flowers to press into a tablecloth for my multiples project. I'm gonna press them between a couple metal sheets overnight and just have it be a centerpiece in my little installation.
Yeah.
So when I first started making art, I had a pretty good eye, period. I was very good at drawing from observation. I think the subject matter in my earlier work was a little bit darker. There were fleets of these, hypnotic, vibey colors, but it was a lot of cardboard. It was a lot of thick cardboard with charcoal over the top. A lot of figures, actually a lot of women's figures with birds as heads. I was drawn to that form because it was this idea of a temptress, this seductress that I couldn't really quite wrap my head fully around their psyche, and that bugged me a lot because I had been let down by numerous different women during that time in my life, and so it's something Truman Capote said that I found quite interesting. He said that when you are falling in love with somebody, you are editorializing that person. So you're cutting out what you don't want to see, and you're adding what you do, and you're making a love object essentially out of that person. And the problem with that is you're pitting yourself against the darkness of that person that you choose not to see anymore because of how much you love that person. And so you're basically living a lie when you fall in love with a person. And so that, I thought about that a lot because I do exactly that. That whole sense of betrayal, that whole sense of not knowing exactly what I'm getting when I enter into a new relationship. I think that was more prominent in my work in high school. Now I think it's evolved into fear of the real world, into a fear of having to having to wake up every morning into a routine, you know, having to wake up every morning and do the same fucking thing. And I think that scares me because my work is a very subconscious thing. You know, I don't really step to a canvas, to a stone, to a steel plate, to the computer, knowing what's about to come out. I think with these ones, I think it's pretty accurate representation of like where I stand with the white collar man, where I stand with you know, being part of that 1%. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I was born into that, and in a way I don't deserve because I don't want it. So.
Yeah. Do you think your work, like, or at least your process, kind of either validates your feelings, or like, is it more of a distraction, or is it like a little bit of both, or is it something else?
My process, I don't know if I experience validation from my process, because once a viewer steps to a work, it's not your job to stand there and tell them exactly what you're trying to say. There's no possible way to get into the minds of every new viewer that this is, you know, predominantly what I'm trying to say. People are going to look at it in as many different ways as they damn well please. People could potentially view my work as digressing because, like, I think it went from longing for love to finding love, but not in a person. Alright, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, that looks really awesome, and I really like the colors, and it can add something real cool to the, like, atmosphere of the room. Man, I could... But also, I get what you mean. I don't want to, like...
We'll bring it.
No, that's up to you, though.
No,
like,
I mean, it's good. I love it, but, you know, I don't want to fucking carry it.
That's so true.
I would say that I've been there, you know, like I've been in the psychiatric ward, you know, I've been, you know, taken in and assessed for weeks on end in a hospital because of, you know, the feelings that I was having and the things that I was going on in my life. I would say in whatever art form that you feel, that you truly feel inside you, I would just say try to make, you know, just try to continue and creatively push your ideas to a place that benefits you, that you think that puts you a little more at peace with the world than you were before. And I'm fortunate enough to have an opportunity to study at a university and push what's been going on in my work. But I also think that there are a lot of different ways to make it in this world than to go through this routine, through this institution. And I think it means a lot more when you don't take this route. There's something so instinctual and so primal that is released. Like once you create a work and once you're proud of that work, there's something primal within all of us that needs to be brought out, and if it isn't, you suffer greatly. So I would say that it's not the only answer. And don't ever think for a second that it is, because we are all artists at heart, and it's been around forever, and it will never ever stop being an entity in the lives that we live. So just do what your heart tells you to do, man. You know, if I didn't have art, you know, I wouldn't be doing anything else right now. If I didn't have art, it might be safe to say I wouldn't be here right now. So.